So after my previous video on the Amandi Prime USA funds available on Poyens, I have made my decision, which is to sell the Amandi Index MSCI fund funded by my CPF OA, as well as a BlackRock iShares US Index funds funded by my SRS. And the funds that were redeemed will be used to invest in the Amandi Prime USA fund available on Poyens on either the CPF or the SRS. But I want to be very clear that in this video, it is just my own decision. It is not financial advice because I've done my own research, so you should do yours too and don't follow because it's not advice tailored to you. And the reason why I need to sell on Endowus to buy back on Poyens is because of the limitation of transfer. In the previous video, I talked about being able to transfer, but apparently the limitation is on Endowus side to allow a transfer out of that unit trust position. So until a further update, this is not possible to transfer unit trust out of Endowus platform. Therefore, in this video, I'll share my own rational decisions of why I decided to make this move, even though I had a lot of Endowus fee credits that I could slowly use. And if you want to join like-minded people interested in building their retirement funds, be it on CPM OA or SRS, then join us at over 19,000 people in the Honey Money SG Telegram group. Firstly, let's talk about the Amandi Index MSCI fund. And some of you may have forgotten that I actually have a small portion of this in my Endowus portfolio. It's around 30,000 Singapore dollars funded by my CPF OA. And when I started this portfolio, it's more like a diversification, right? I don't want so much US exposure, but I realized that it's a meaningless diversification because the fund is still overweight on US companies, which also makes no sense if you're already investing in the Amandi Prime USA fund. And to be frank, looking at all these macroeconomic news over the years, I realized that I'm more confident in US economies and companies rather than the other developed world markets. But we shall not go into the rabbit hole of that. So I myself, and I repeat for myself only, I am okay with overexposure to the US markets. And the historical performance of Amandi Prime USA is still better than Index MSCI. But remember that past performance is not a guarantee of future performance. And do you even know that Amandi Prime USA expense ratio is only 0.05%, much less than Amandi Index MSCI of 0.10%? So that's like half. So these were my actions performed from the Endowus transfer to Poyens platform. On 10 February, I initiated sell. Back then, the Amandi Index MSCI value was at $32,460. But there was some processing time, so the trade date was only effective on the 13th of February. And the redemption was fully completed on 17th of February. And by the time the funds were received in my account, I received a total of $32,831. So that's like capital gain, right? Over that 1 week of processing time. Luckily, I didn't capital loss because of this processing time. But you have to be prepared. It's like a 1 week wait, you know. It's not like ETF immediate you can get the funds on. And the total time is 7 calendar days without any public holidays in between. So that is inclusive for Saturday and Sunday already. So very heng, very lucky, still appreciated. If drop, wow, then very sad. Then 1 work day later, the funds were available on my CPF investment account with UOB. And that was on 18 February when I placed a buy order of Amandi Prime USA fund on Poyens Mobile Tree platform. And this was funded using the CPF OA funds of my CPF investment account through UOB. But I want to be very cautious again. This is only for my own investment style. My cash investments, I do not use it on unit trust for now, because for cash investments, I still believe that putting them in ETFs is a much more liquid way rather than waiting for 1 week, right? And my choice of broker for investing ETFs is through Interactive Brokers, or short form IBK, because they are one of the largest brokers in the world, offering a wide range of markets that you can invest in, including London Stock Exchange for Ireland domiciled funds. And that's what I invest my S&P 500 into. And they also offer superior exchange rates as well as low cost investing options, even through RSP, regular savings plan. And that's where you can dollar cost average your investments. So check out Interactive Brokers if you also want to invest like me. So that was for my CPF investment, previously Amandi Index MSCI, now moved to Poyens Amandi US Prime. Okay, but the next one is SRS. Okay, I want to talk about my BlackRock iShares US Index Funds, short form IE. Now, the fundamental reason that I invested in IE was because of the synthetic replication versus your traditional physical replication, which means that synthetic, there are some savings in the dividend withholding tax. And how much savings are we talking about? If you look at the dividend yield of S&P 500 is around 1.33%, or 30% savings in dividend withholding tax will be 30% multiplied by 1.33, which is 0.4% per annum. that is the savings that you would get. And I've done a lot of research and reading across the internet, comparing like the BlackRock iShares funds versus the Amundi Prime USA fund. And it got me to this level where you could actually compare both of them and Endowus. And that's something interesting, because if you look at 2024 or even 2023's performance, despite iShares BlackRock US Index Fund, i.e. being a tax-efficient fund, it still loses to Amundi Prime for 2 years, In fact, it is lagging behind Amundi Prime USA fund by at least 1% each year in 2023 and 2024. Even if we look at current 2025 year to date, the gap is already more than 0.5% in the first quarter of 2025. Now, some of you have the question, why, right? Isn't it supposed to have more tax savings? Hence, there's going to be stronger growth in the synthetic fund compared to a physical fund like Amundi. Now, I also try to understand, because if you look at IE BlackRock iShares US Index Fund, there is a 5% cash allocation that is not used. Compared to Amundi, it is 100% invested, whereas it's like 95% invested versus 5% in cash for the IE fund. So this 5% in cash is not maximized. You may think that it's a small matter, but if you look at the annual growth of 20% for 2023 and 2024, both of these years, the market of S&P 500 grew by more than 20%. And if you take 5% multiplied by 20%, that equals to 1%, right? That's a 1% difference, which is why this may be the breaking point or the difference between Amundi versus BlackRock. What is the difference of that 1% coming from? I mean, this is just all my assumption. I'm not a financial expert, This is just from a layman point of view of comparing stuff and what am I looking at. So the numbers don't lie. If you look at historical performance, just 2023 and 2024 alone, because of this 1% lag effect, it's going to compound even more in the years. And I don't want that to hinder my growth because of this cash allocation. Therefore, I think it's wise for me to switch back to Amundi Prime USA fund. But all these are just the nitty-gritty details in terms of both the Amundi Index MSCI fund from my CPF OA and for SRS, the BlackRock iShares US Index Fund. These are the nitty-gritty small number detail. I want to talk about the big number because the big number is the 0.3% Endowus Fund Smart fee that they are going to charge you every year, whether you are in a gain position or loss position. And if your portfolio grows large enough, this 0.3% is going to concern a huge amount of your fees. Remember that for Poem's platform, they do not have any sales charges, they do not have any platform fees, and no switching costs. Okay, while Endowus, they charge a 0.3% per annum Endowus management fee. So if you look at my total portfolio position, in terms of the transfer value, is 30 over K for CPF OA, and then for SRS, it's around 47,000, add up together around 80,000 in portfolio value. 80,000 multiplied by 0.3% per annum, that's going to be $240 per year of savings if I move all of them to Poems. Regardless of the performance or performance aside, we're talking about fees. Fees are guaranteed, cost is guaranteed, profit is not guaranteed. But things that you can control the cost, I think it's better to always shift to a cheaper and more cost-efficient platform. So this is really my reasoning and rationale behind this transfer and the move. And to keep it objective, I'm not included any sponsor, but if you want to support me, you can sign up for Poems account using my referral link here. I'll get some welcome benefits if you fulfill the terms and conditions, of course. Now, what's the final piece of my Endowus portfolio? That is my CPF OA investment in the Amundi Prime USA. Exactly the same product. Okay, I'm not in a hurry to move this because I have existing fee credits and I want to have a taste first of how Poem's platform is like. Like, do I really want to use this platform for the long term? Because otherwise it's the same product, there's no difference. The only difference is the platform fee. But for platform fee, I already have like excess fee credits from Endowus, so I'm not in a hurry to switch. And when I make the switch, I will make a separate video documenting it. So this is considered one of my major updates in terms of changing the platform. I hope that it is of help to you, especially on the calculations and numbers. I hope those make sense because that to me from a lay person, okay, I'm not from a financial investment background. But if you want to hear more updates on the Poems platform, how to use the Poems mobile tree app, is it user friendly or is it difficult like interactive brokers, then go and comment Poems plus one. Maybe I will do like a video with them. Okay, also comment Poems plus one if you agree with my reasoning and you want to switch to Poems as well for your CPF and SRS investments. Cash, still go and use interactive brokers. That's my choice. And if you missed the news of what is all this about, why suddenly talk about this Amundi Prime USA fund, then refer to my previous Poems video where I talk about this breaking news that is going to shake the CPF and SRS investment history.